So I'm very excited to introduce Ronni to you. She's pretty much going to introduce herself, but we saw in, I think it was in the e-news or one of the reporters or something, that Ronni was offering these memoir writing workshops. And so when this came up as a topic, we thought, well, she's an OLOC member. She's obviously doing this. So let's invite her. And she thankfully said yes. And so it looks like she's got a lot of experience in the LGBT community in many ways, as a writer, as an editor, and all other kinds of work. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Ronni, if you want to unmute yourself. We will begin. Thank you very much for doing this.
Thank you so much, Mev. It's so nice to be here with everybody. I see a bunch of familiar faces, and that's really nice. I was once told that when you're speaking to a group, you should look for kind eyeballs. So I'm always looking for kind eyeballs in the process. My name is Ronni. I am retired. I was a professor at UCLA in the Graduate School of Education, and I was Senior Associate Dean of Students, and I was the director of the LGBT Center from 97 to 2010. So, and prior to that, I was the director of the LGBT Center at University of Michigan. And prior to that, I was an HIV epidemiologist in Florida, which is my home state. I'm embarrassed to say. We should all say gay, 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 gay. And then lesbian, 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 bi, trans, all of them. They should get it all. So I've been doing this work for a really long time. I've been retired for about 10, 11 years or so. And in my retirement, I started helping women self-publish their books. And from that, because I worked with so many people, we've done over 50 books over the last 10 years or so. I realized that people really needed help in moving forward in writing their memoir. And so I developed I went to a lot of memoir programs, and I didn't learn that much. So I developed something that worked for me. And so I teach a 3-hour memoir class periodically. And just last weekend, I did a 4-day women's writing retreat on Zoom. It was the coolest thing because we all pretended like we were at some great spa somewhere away from everybody else. And we spent 4 days talking with one another, connecting, people connected by genre, and I did a little bit of teaching about memoir writing, and it was just an amazing event. So I'll be doing that again in July. But in the meantime, this project came up because a friend of mine, an OLOC member, Debbie Ann Spotch, who I've known for a very long time. My wife and I live in Sequim, Washington, half the year, and the other half in Palm Springs. And we came back to Palm Springs, went to Debbie's house to take her some dinner, as we always do, and found out she was in the hospital. Old lesbian, living by herself, pretty debilitated with rheumatoid arthritis. And her housekeeper found her on the floor. And apparently she'd been on the floor for several days, according to the droppings left by her little dog. And so I spent every day with Debbie until she died in January. And during that time, we talked about writing memoir. We also talked about, and we did create a living trust for her, got all of her papers in order, took care of her house, lots of things that my wife and I just never really had to do. We have a trust, but we haven't had to do all those other things. And it's really made me aware of old lesbians, especially those living by themselves, having to go through the end of life, being found on the friggin' floor. And it just killed me. So among other things, we started working on, and we did write Debbie's her obituary. So given that, that's sort of the background of all of this. So I'll share this process with you. It's kind of a fun process, actually. And there's plenty of time for questions, comments, and you will have handouts. So you can take notes if you want to. You don't really need to, because all of the process slides that you'll see will all be given as handouts on the OLOC website along with the recording. So you'll have all that. So just sit back and have fun, write down whatever questions you might have. And I think we're ready to roll. If I can find my shared screen. Okay, can everybody see that? I hope everyone can see that. Okay.
Yes, it's good.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, so if there's one surefire way to get the last word, it's writing your own obituary. More people are taking on this project, penning a few lines or a long tale when confronted with a final illness. For the reader, the self-written obituary gives a glance at the real personality of the one who wrote it, helping us to remember someone in rich detail. And for the deceased, perhaps it was a much needed chance to reflect on a life well lived, remembering the true highlights of the past decades. Writing your own obituary means you do get the last word about your life. It's about reconnecting with what really matters to you. Usually when people get closer to their death, they begin to worry about what they didn't achieve, what they should do with the time that's left. And we need to accept that our lives will come to an end at some point. Writing our own obituary can be uncomfortable. The goal, though, is not to feel bad, but to recover joy and to focus on having a life worth dying for. Obituaries are one of the most unique forms of literature ever written. They're one of the few writings that truly capture someone's life, if written correctly. Make it memorable and not cookie cutter. Write one that makes you laugh and cry, one that inspires you. Obituaries are a way to honor someone, you, summing up your life's achievements and paying tribute really to who you were. Although obituaries are usually written by friends or family, some people are breaking away from tradition and choosing to pen their own obituary. The results are often humorous, heartbreaking, and uplifting. For example, K.N. Hegstead wrote her own obituary after she was diagnosed with bone marrow cancer. And it starts, K.N. Hegstead, age 72, bought the farm, is no more, has ceased to be, left this world, is bereft of life, gave up the ghost, kicked the bucket. No one should say she fought a courageous battle because she did not. Unlike most folks, she complained all the way. What a whiner. Sonia Todd wrote a startlingly honest self-obituary before she died from cancer. She was just 38. Let's face it, Sonia wrote, I never really accomplished anything of note. The truth, or my version of it, is this. I just tried to do the best I could. Sometimes I succeeded, most of the time I failed, but I tried. She concluded, some folks told me that writing my own obituary was morbid, but I think it's great because I get a chance to say thank you to all the people who helped me along the way. I was blessed beyond measure by knowing all of you. This is what made my life. Yvonne Miles wrote, in order to finally have that smoking hot body I've always wanted, I chose to be cremated and my ashes spread in an undisclosed site. I still want to stay on this side of the grass. And finally, Renee Mandel-Coren's son, Andy. Maybe you've read about this a while ago. Andy wrote in his mom's obituary, he said, Mom was bawdy, fertile, redheaded matriarch, and a talented and gregarious grifter. There will be much mourning in the glorious locales she went bankrupt in. She was a Jewish mother and grandmother who first fell in love with ham and atheism in North Carolina, where her dreams, credit rating, and marriage are all buried. It was a rollicking, manic tribute that subverted the respectful conventions of a small town obituary. And listed among Renee's achievements were lying a lot, was lousy with money, and a pretty rotten cook, and didn't clean the house at all. Her hobbies were pier fishing, rolling joints, and buying dirty magazines. I kind of wish I had known that girl. So if you're thinking about how you want to be remembered, writing your own obituary like these people did is a great way to reflect on your life. You might want to return to it every few years and keep it safe for your loved ones to find. So, what is an obituary? In short, an obituary notifies the public of your passing. It usually describes your life and personality, as well as the details of the upcoming funeral or memorial service. An obituary is a sketch that retells the most important qualities, contributions, events, and connections in your life. An obituary is not a biography or a resume, nor is it a legal document, so some liberties are certainly acceptable. Writing is intimidating for most people. It can be even harder to write when announcing the death of a loved one, especially if it's you. Despite feelings of grief that will likely arise, writing an obituary should be positive, cathartic. I offer this guide to address the challenges of writing your obituary so you may focus on the special life that you have lived. So here we go. You need to gather information, do some research. It may be helpful to talk with close family members or friends because you may not recall all the pertinent details. As we age, our memories, mine for sure, may not be the best. I've been told that nouns are the first things to go. Consulting others who know you may help confirm the information you need to craft an accurate life story. So start by gathering your basic information, including your full legal name, your nickname, birthday, birthplace, city and state of residence at death, name of significant other, full names of parents and siblings, names of those who preceded you in death, names of those surviving, and funeral or memorial services in details if you know them. I keep a zippered binder. I call it my dead book. I got it from the Neptune Society, who will do a burial at sea for me. In the book is all the information about my life, such as my birth certificate, the names of my siblings and my children, lists of who to inform of my demise, my obituary, and my memorial arrangements, included in a thumb drive with the music that I want to have played. Yeah, okay, a control freak. As I said, I have the Neptune Society as my final event planner. You may want to make funeral, home, burial, or cremation of arrangements now. When my dad died, all the arrangements had been made while he was alive, so the work was minimal during that time of grieving. And my mother, who is 96 and still controlling our lives, has already added her name next to my father's on the memorial plaque at the Ventura County Pier in California. When planning your memorial, think of what you want. I want a rather grand soiree with music and dancing and photographs. Instead of flowers, I want donations made to the LGBTQ centers at UCLA and the University of Michigan and the University of North Florida. And I want the songs Defying Gravity from Wicked, My Little Corner of the Sky from Pippin, and Seasons of Love from Rent to be repeated ad nauseum. Do you want your obituary to be placed in the newspaper, social media, on a billboard, from a skywriter plane? You need to indicate that in your dead book. Check with your local newspaper if you want your obituary published there. Some newspapers provide a template, a format to follow, while others have no guidelines at all. If you intend to place the obituary in print, check with the newspaper for any format requirements they may have so that you make sure your obituary is ready to go. Make it as long as you wish, and then use a shorter version for the obituary and the longer version for your celebration of life. Don't forget to select your photo. Some newspapers will scale down a larger photograph to fit. Others will request a specific photo size. Check with the newspaper to see what they require and how they want it submitted. Ask for the newspaper's obituary pricing structure. Some obituaries are priced per word or per line. If budget is a restraint, consider keeping the obituary short and sweet. Most print obituaries also include an online version. Most obituaries begin with the basic information gathered above, then followed with a summary of one's life. Don't worry about the length as you begin to put down the information. You can always edit and cut once you've finished. Right now, just concentrate on summarizing your life. Start from the beginning and include the events important to you along the way. I like to jot down my primary turning points of my life, those events that guided the direction that my life took. It may take you some time to remember some of your turning points. They may be pleasant or horrifying, so allow yourself some time and space to feel your feelings. And one of the things that might be very helpful in remembering turning points is taking a look at old photographs. I was amazed at how old photographs just jogged my fading memory. Once you've gathered basic information and brainstormed your turning points, it's time to write. Feel free to go into as much or as little detail as you like. Perhaps include your childhood, education, your military background, honors and awards, marriage or partnership, children, grandchildren, employment, extracurricular activities. Some of mine I really wouldn't want included. Retirement, home life, special pets. You're unique. Think about the things that make you special. Include touching details that people might like to know about you. This is your chance to memorialize yourself and to let others know the whole you. For example, I created the first Lavender graduation that honors the lives and achievements and scholarships of LGBTQ college students. It's the legacy I leave to higher education. So include interesting tidbits, something people might not know about you, and don't be afraid to be humorous. Sharing little known facts about yourself gives people something to smile about and lasting memories to cherish. Writing your obituary should not be a stressful thing. If you don't feel up to it or you aren't confident in your writing ability, pass the task on to someone who enjoys writing. You can provide them with the information, make suggestions, and they can take notes. Make this easy on yourself. Don't feel guilty about passing the task along if you aren't up to it. Friends and family are glad to help in times like these. In writing my story, I realized how significant the slivers of hope were versus the massive defeats and noteworthy accomplishments. Life isn't like your Facebook page or LinkedIn profile. At your funeral or memorial service, people won't be boasting about the fact that you crossed the 7-digit salary line. The stories for me are those of heavy sentimental value, including my saxophone that I was able to replace after 50 years of not having it, or the travels that Kelly and I have done over the last 10 years of a remarkable relationship that I never thought I would ever have. Or the relationships I finally get to have with my children after years of separation and collapse. The LGBTQ work I was called to do in higher education and the students and colleagues that came into my life as a result. The dining table in our house where we shared meals with friends and family no longer with us, sitting with my sister until she died. Strength is both inspiring and motivating, but we can't get strong without the adversity that pushes us forward. Don't be afraid to let your guard down. As Maya Angelou said, people may forget what you did and the things you accomplished, but they will never forget how you made them feel. To ignite emotion, dig deep, share openly and shamelessly, leave a lasting legacy with your final words. So how do you actually start writing your obituary? Well, start by writing your name the way you'd like it to look on your tombstone. So mine might be Ronni Sanlo, resilient to the end, except that I'll be cremated and sent out to sea. One line, how did you make the world a better place? Be concise and focused and be honest with yourself. And then write down how people will remember you. Avoid pompous language. Stick to the tone and words that regular people would use, especially those who know you well. And you don't need the full laundry list of everything. So mine might be, Ronni is remembered as the founder of the award-winning Lavender Graduation, an event that she celebrates the lives and achievements of graduating LGBTQ students. And she wrote a few books. The next part requires more introspection. Look at yourself in the mirror and answer this unfiltered. Who is the real me? Okay. Who is the real me? Not your masks or costumes, not your job or titles or roles, but what was your essence? What makes the world, what makes you unique in the world? So mine might be, Ronni appeared to be outgoing and aloof, but in reality, she was shy and frightened much of the time. Small talk was never her forte, though she appeared just the opposite when at purpose-filled events. Think about this. Saying yes is easy. But when we say no, what we say no to defines who we really are. Which was it in your case? What are the temptations and distractions or possibilities that you said no to because they would derail you from achieving your goals? So mine might be, Ronni was a tad hyperactive, always distracted by the next shiny penny, and she had the attention span of a mosquito. But nothing derailed her from achieving her writing or teaching or personal goals. So who will miss you the most? This seems easy, but it's not. Try to understand, to understand who will really miss you. A lot of people will for sure, but who are those people to whom you meant something special? Once again, avoid judging yourself. Being honest is what makes this exercise so meaningful. So mine might be, Ronni will be missed by the many students who've remained connected to her over the years, and especially by her wife, Kelly, her children, Barrett and Eric, and certainly her crazy, wonderful grandchildren. So, okay. So here's what Ann Topic wrote. Ann would like to let you know that her work here is done. She received a call, a sort of an offer you can't refuse, for an appointment from which she will not be returning. This assignment comes with a huge sign-on bonus, a reunion with family and friends she's not seen in a very long time. So a standard list of survivors may include your spouse and children, grandchildren, parents, siblings, aunts, uncles, cousins, nieces, nephews. Some people decide to list only immediate family members. If you had drama with or you were estranged from any family member, the obituary is not really the place to leave that person out. Whether it's parents, siblings, cousins, whomever, it's best to list all the family members rather than purposefully omitting someone. And it's now commonplace, of course, to name same-sex spouses and partners, two moms or two dads of a minor child, spouses of living adult children, ex-spouses, which typically in amicable situations, devoted caregivers, lifelong friends, and even pets. Generally, anyone who was significant to you in your life or found you to be of significance to them should be included. And now a creative wrap-up. Connect with your true essence, not your vanity. What will your obituary say? So mine might be, hopefully when you think of Ronni, you'll remember the commitment she had to her work to make colleges and universities safer for LGBTQ students. We'll miss her Facebook posts about the daily adventures and travel she was blessed to enjoy. She was an avid boater and a lousy golfer, but she loved both the same. She wanted you to write your memoir like she did so that your personal history is not lost. Honor her memory by writing your story. So Walter George Buell Jr. made this request at the end of his obituary. Instead of flowers, I hope you'll do an unexpected and unsolicited act of kindness for some poor, unfortunate soul in my name. So if we've seen, obituaries don't have to be boring. Harry Stamp's obituary is classic. It was written by his daughter, Amanda. She described her father as a ladies' man who didn't take fashion cues from anyone. He had a lifelong love affair with deviled eggs, hated Martha Stewart and cats, and belonged to a Bacon of the Month club. His last wish is that you write your congressperson and ask for the repeal of daylight savings time. You have the opportunity to create a memorable obituary. Step outside of your comfort zone and create something that might be bold and sentimental and humorous and honest. And I'll close with another creative example. Emily Phillips wrote her own obituary after being diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. Equal parts funny and moving, her tribute to her life and loved ones quickly went viral online. It pains me to admit it, but apparently I have passed away. Everyone told me it would happen one day, but that's simply not something I wanted to hear, much less experience. Once again, I didn't get things my way. I'll leave you with this. Please don't cry because I'm gone. Instead, be happy that I was here. Or maybe you can cry a little bit. After all, I have passed away. Today I'm happy and I'm dancing, probably naked. Love you forever. Take the time to reflect on your life, recalling intimate details. What do you want others to remember about you? Providing one last laugh can be a great gift to leave behind, and enabling family and friends to celebrate your life rather than mourn your death. After this session, write a draft of your obituary as an account of your life to date. Use the information Mev will put up on the website, which is much of the information I've given to you already. When you've done that, look it over and ask yourself these questions. If I died today, would I die happy? Am I satisfied with the direction in which my life is headed now? Am I happy with the legacy I'm creating? What's missing from my life? What do I need to do in order for my obituary to be complete? Writing your own obituary helps you find that delicate balance to uncover what's really important to you, hopefully long before your end. Use your obituary as a guiding principle for your life. Regardless of how much time is left, you can still live the way you want to be remembered. Don't let others choose the words of your obituary. Let your acts and legacy write it instead. Because after all, you do have the last word. And I thank you so much for sharing this time.